For example, let us address the topic of bedwetting. Bedwetting is a topic that the parents will whisper about, the mother will whisper about. She might come to see me with some major illness or a fever and a cold and a cough of the child, and I will prescribe the medication for that. And in her leaving me, will turn and said, "What do I do about bedwetting?" Quite quietly, because there's always a bit of embarrassment that accompanies the question. Now, bedwetting is fairly common, and it depends primarily on the age of the child. It depends on how the mother and the family responds to it. The medical term for bedwetting is enuresis. And enuresis primarily means wetting the bed at night while the child is sleeping. Bedwetting can interfere with the family, with the well-being of the child, and all of this depends on the reaction of the family. Now, a young child is not aware of the circumstances or the embarrassment of bedwetting until the child is made to feel that there's something wrong with it. For example, there's primary bedwetting and secondary bedwetting. Primary bedwetting, it means it is a normal bedwetting you get in a child, in a baby, as a baby becomes a toddler and becomes a little bit older, where they cannot control the bladder during night sleep. That is primary, meaning that the baby has never ever been dry. Secondary bedwetting or secondary enuresis is when the child has been dry for several months and suddenly starts wetting the bed again. There are a lot of factors that can be looked at to find out about the causes of secondary enuresis. The commonest cause for secondary bedwetting is an infection in the urine. But let us go back to the primary bedwetting. There is an inherited factor in a child, in families, the factor of continuing to wet the bed into beyond the age of sort of 5-6 years. By 5 to 6 years, most children should have been able to, of their own volition or with some help, stop bedwetting. But if it continues to that age, then one has to start looking and investigating. Most times I will tell parents up to the age of 5 years it's tolerated. After 5, we have to start looking at other causes for primary bedwetting. So the initial history would involve either members of the family, teenagers, adults who has had this problem. That will sort of put a reason, give me a reason for the bedwetting continuing beyond the age of 5 years. For example, 41% of children who are still bedwetting after 5 years of age, 41% of them had one parent who was still wetting their beds as an adult. Looking first now on the child's visit to my office, before I go into the history, the easiest thing and the easiest test to do if the child has enuresis is to find if there's a urinary tract infection. So that part is fairly easy. I will send the child a urine for testing, or I'll test it in my office and send the child's urine to be tested. In a fair amount of children, you'll find that this is the cause. There are other causes that I delve into before I finally say, well, it is a familial or inherited factor in this bedwetting. So I will just address briefly toilet training. Parents ask sometimes for direction about toilet training. Some parents who have experience with other children automatically will start it. In some societies, the child, once he or she's mobile, the age of 10 months, 18 months, after the child has had their breakfast, the parent will put the child to sit on a little potty on the floor. He or she will sit there for a little while playing. Whether they use a potty or not, it's just a matter of getting the child into the habit of morning time after breakfast sitting on the potty. What is necessary for successful training, for by the time the child reaches about the age of 3 years or old, there are certain factors have to be present in the child before one can successfully toilet train the baby. For example, the child has to have some control, nervous control of the bladder because that deals with the maturity of the nerves supplying the bladder. The child has to become aware, and by making a face or looking uncomfortable, that, oh, my bladder is full, it needs to be emptied. So by interaction between the mother and child, she's able to know, well, this child is making a sign that the bladder is full. This is what we call sort of physical readiness. The child is able to give a sign that the bladder is full, and then he or she may run around looking for the potty. The child also should be able to understand instructions, even by the mother holding the hand and carrying them to the potty, should have that understanding what it means. Then there are several methods of training. For example, the child may also try to follow the parents, into the bathroom and see the relief face when mom and dad sits on the toilet, realize something good is happening there, and then would want to sort of mimic what the parents are doing. These are just the fundamentals that we deal with in trying to train a child to potty train a child. Now, it's good to potty train the child, but he or she should have the ability or be able to pull the pants down. And if he or she refuses to use the little potty, would have the ability to climb up and get onto the toilet, or make, in some way, physically get to the point where the toilet or the potty is. Do not try to toilet train a child during any periods of upheaval in the family, like you're moving to a new home. There's a new person in the family. The child has just started going to daycare. Those are the things, there are too many things going on at that time to get the attention of this child to really begin to be successful at toilet training. In addition, if the child is ill with some other major or minor medical illness, a cold or flu or tummy ache, diarrhea, so that's not the time to start training. If the child is due to go into hospital or go to visit auntie or any upset in the routine of the child, that's not the time to start training. When you start training the child, you should be there to help hold, for example, to hold the hand of the child and give him or her encouragement and also praise when he or she successfully uses the potty. Another suggestion could be at the time of intense training, during the day when mom is around, we can give the child more fluids to drink, so that increase the urine volume, and in such a way the child is beginning to learn what it feels like to have a full bladder, and then would indicate that he or she needs to go to the bathroom. He also has to have an ability to retain the urine voluntarily. When the nerves develop that control the bladder, by the age of 2.5 to 3 years, then the child could retain the urine for the bladder to be full enough for him to get the sensation that the bladder is full and needs to be emptied. For example, as a sideline, a child who has any neurological problems or nervous problems or maldeveloped nerves is unable to achieve this knowledge because the nerves are not working well to warn about the ability or the need to go and empty the bladder.